Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel Colonati. Today I'm going to review Hild by Nicola Griffith. Hild is the first book in a projected trilogy that explores the fictional life of Hild, otherwise known as Saint Hilda. Saint Hilda was a real person in 7th century ancient Britain. She was the founding abbess of the monastery at Whitby where the Synod of Whitby took place. Most of what we know, the very little we know about her, comes from the Venerable Bede's History of England, which I think was written maybe 100 years after she died, but does present a relatively contemporary view of her as a powerful woman, a powerful mature woman at the point where she is mentioned. And Griffith is writing the series, of which Hild is the first, that explores how Hild could have become this powerful advisor to kings. The book opens when Hild is 4 years old. Her father, King Edwin's nephew, is poisoned in exile, and Hild's mother takes her older sister, her body woman, and then her body woman's son, Keon, to live with her at King Edwin's court, where Hild grows up. Throughout the book, Hild's mother tells her that she is the light of the world, based on this prophetic dream that her mother had when she was pregnant with her, and that Hild is destined to be the king's seer. So throughout the book, you see Hild's personality and ambitions taking shape. However, the book does end when Hild is in her mid-teens, before she reaches the point at which we know of her from the Synod of Whitby. Hild was a very challenging book for me. It is historical fiction that aims to be vividly historically accurate about some details while incorporating fictional world building for other things. It speculates the steps towards one woman's destiny, and a woman that we just don't know very much about, so there's a lot of room there to create your own story. The most intriguing question for me at the heart of this book was, is Hild a self-fulfilling prophecy? She is told by everyone that she is the light of the world, that she is a seer, that she has these special abilities, that she is a special person. Is she actually a special person, or does she become one based on everybody's expectations? Because she doesn't actually have prophetic abilities. That's a pretty major conflict within her at certain points, that she is asked to predict the future. Her life and other people's lives depend on it, but she knows she doesn't actually know the future and she has to make something up. What she is, however, is a very smart, very intelligent, observant, aware person who just happens to be in the right place at the right time to gain information that other people don't have, and then takes advantage of that information. And certainly her temperament, her personality, her desires, her agenda are unusual, but the question for me still remains, how does she become this way? Why is she this way? Do people around her shape her, or does she shape herself? It's a question, of course, of what makes us who we are, what shapes our destinies. This book is also very much about what it means to be a woman in this time and place in ancient Britain, from those massively detailed descriptions of what daily life is like for the people, especially women, to those instances where Hild steps outside of the normal gender role for a woman. For example, some of the most interesting parts are when she behaves like a man, when she leads a band of warriors to track down bandits and torture and kill them. She's a woman who kills, and this makes men and women deeply uncomfortable around her because she does not conform to their gender role expectations. And this is an unease that gives Hild power over people, at the same time that it alienates her from her community. So I mentioned those many details, and that is where this book lost me. It is a very slowly built up story. It is very ponderous, very thoughtful, but it is slow. It is almost too slow. It grinds to a halt in these dips between the actually interesting interactions and action taking place. There are so many fine layers built up, but it's done through packing the story with these places and names and all these things that it's very difficult to keep straight. And sometimes it's just frankly a bit boring because you're waiting for something impactful to happen. On top of it being pretty slow, I also found it to be very confusing in parts. Much of the action that is outside of Hild's immediate concern is very hazy and ill-explained. There are so many background events, so many people and places and wars and political alliances going on that while you kind of know they're there, they're not explained, there's not a lot of detail, and many times you only know what's going on because somebody's name is mentioned. And you're like, who is that? But a lot of this is because Hild doesn't understand it either. She's not paying attention, or she pays attention almost too late, which is a frustrating thing because when Hild isn't aware of the details, when she isn't thinking about and exploring the plots and agendas, especially of her mother, then you, as the reader, I couldn't really tell what was going on. It probably doesn't help that I personally don't know much about this part of the world and this part of history. If this was the ancient history of North America, maybe I would have gotten it a bit more, but a lot of the book is about the place, what the land looks like, what it feels like, and I don't have that connection. I don't have that mental image in my mind of what these places actually look like. So maybe this would be very different for somebody who lives in Britain. My verdict is that Hild is an interesting, albeit slow and ponderous read. It was too detail-rich and slow for my liking, but I very much enjoy thinking about it after I have read it, far more than I enjoyed the actual reading process. I am, however, definitely going to read the next book whenever it comes out because I feel very invested in Hild's life at this point, and the final event of the book was a little explosive for me. It was controversial and difficult, and I want to know how that plays out. So I will be reading more about Hild. I would recommend this for people who enjoy those slower historical fiction reads, but this is not one to pick up if you like action, if you like quick, fast events, and you want a complete story in one book, because it is only a fraction of Hild's life. If you have read Hild, I would love to know what you thought about it, especially if you approached it as historical fiction or if you expected it to be more fantasy like I did and it didn't turn out to be that way. But tell me what you thought. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again later. Bye.